6 months ago, I unlocked my front door, knowing I was about to change my life, just not realizing how badly. My older sister Emily stood on my doorstep with a duffel bag, hollow eyes, and the kind of smile people wear when they're pretending they still have control. She'd been homeless for weeks, no stable job, no place to go, and somehow, despite everything she'd done to me growing up, I said yes. I told myself family mattered more than old wounds. That was my first mistake. At first, Emily played the part perfectly, grateful, quiet, almost gentle. She'd hugged me too long, thanked me too often, told my boyfriend Jason how lucky I was to have him. I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd changed. But unease has a sound, a low hum in your chest that never fully goes quiet. It started small. I've always been insecure about my body, especially my hips. Emily noticed immediately. She'd casually bring it up while Jason was nearby, smiling sweetly as she asked him if he'd ever noticed my hip dips. Then she'd turn to me and suggest workouts I could do for him, like she was doing me a favor. Jason never reacted, barely even looked up. So Emily escalated. Suddenly, she was always lounging around in tiny shorts, then sports bras, then bikinis, despite the fact that we didn't own a pool. She'd bend over in exaggerated ways, stretch in doorways, wander into rooms she didn't need to be in, and every time I confronted her, she acted confused. "Wow," she'd say, tilting her head, "I didn't know you were that insecure." She'd remind me that she was my sister, that I saved her life, that she'd never go after my boyfriend. And against my better judgment, I believed her. Until the day Jason worked from home. Emily wore a bikini all day, cleaned the living room he was in, vacuumed nothing, brushed past him again and again, apologizing with a little laugh that made my skin crawl. Jason told me everything that night. And when I watched Emily pull on an oversized shirt right before bed, after hours of barely wearing anything at all, I finally understood. Those clothes were never about comfort. They were about him. The next few weeks were torture.
Emily suddenly got into yoga, but only when Jason was home. She wore skin-tight rompers and laid her mat directly in his line of sight. Downward dog, slow stretches, lingering poses. When I came home, she'd shower and emerged in just a towel or robe, pretending she'd forgotten something in the laundry room. She always asked Jason for help reaching shelves she'd never struggled with before. Then came the movie night. Jason and I were curled up on the couch when Emily walked in wearing a silk robe that looked more like lingerie. She insisted on joining us, ignored the empty seats, and sat so close to Jason she was practically on his lap. When I asked her to sit next to me, she smiled and said she was more comfortable where she was. She told Jason to feel how soft her pajamas were. He tried to scoot away. She moved closer. Jason smiled nervously. My blood boiled. That night, I didn't sleep, because this wasn't new. When we were teenagers, Emily always did this. Flirted with my boyfriends, followed them online, messaged them behind my back. And once, when I was 15, she slept with my crush and told me like it was a joke. She was 17 then. Now she was doing it again. The next day, Jason called me at work. His voice was tight. Emily had come out of the bathroom dripping wet, wearing a bikini. She'd asked him to stop working and check out her progress, asked if he could tell Pilates was paying off. I left work early. When I confronted her, she cried, apologized, swore it was all a misunderstanding, said she was just proud of herself, said she'd never mean to come between us. I told her to leave. She broke down completely. She said she had nowhere to go, that our parents had cut her off years ago, that I was all she had left. And against every instinct screaming inside me, I let her stay. On conditions. No more revealing clothes, no more crossing boundaries, distance from Jason. For a while, she behaved. I started to relax, started to feel safe again. Then I overheard her on the phone. She laughed and told her friend that Jason was so fine, that she'd been getting close before I overreacted. My stomach dropped. The clothes came back, slowly, strategically. Then one afternoon, she pulled her towel stunt again. This time, she dropped it right in front of Jason, bent down slowly, joked that since he'd already seen everything, it was only fair he returned the favor. Jason called me immediately. I snapped.
I told her to pack her things. She cried again, called me heartless, said it was an accident, said she was just asking for soap. Jason held me while I shook with anger, told me he loved me, that he wanted only me, that he saw through her games. I believed him, but I knew something had to change. That night, Jason went to get water. He took too long. I found them in the kitchen. Emily was wearing lingerie, trying to make conversation. Jason looked trapped. When she saw me, she covered herself and asked if I wanted a sandwich.
That was it. The next week, she crossed the line for good. Jason called me from home. She'd done it again, dropped the towel, bent over, suggested he undress too. Then I heard her begging him not to tell me. I drove home shaking. When I walked in, she accused Jason of wanting her, said he planned to leave me. I didn't hesitate. I told her to get out. She screamed, cried, tried to guilt me again, said she had nothing. I told her I'd call the police if she didn't leave immediately. She packed through tears. By morning, she was gone. The silence felt like freedom. 2 weeks later, she called from a blocked number, apologized, asked for another chance. When that didn't work, she turned cruel. She accused me of being the golden child, said I'd always had everything, said she was starving, living in shelters. She begged me to save her again. I listened, then I said goodbye. And for the first time in my life, I meant it.